Good evening, council members. My name is Stephen Lucas. I am the council administrator / attorney, and I am presenting the 2021 budget for the council office. So why we exist, why you exist, as you all are well aware, the council is the legislative body for the city of Bloomington. The council exercises its legislative powers by taking action in public meetings to adopt ordinances, resolutions, orders, and motions for the government of the city and the control of the city's property and finances. The council strives to perform these functions in an open, effective, and deliberative manner in concert with other elected officials, department staff, and certainly members of the public. The council is made up of 9 elected members of our community. 3 at-large members represent the city as a whole, while 6 members represent specific geographic districts within the city. The work of the council is supported by 3 staff members who make up about 2.8 FTEs. And while during certain parts of the year, we're lucky enough to also have an O'Neill School Service Corps Fellow. At the beginning of 2020, the council created several new standing committees to supplement certain standing committees that were already in existence. The council utilizes these standing committees, which are listed here on the screen, to divide up the work of the council and to allow council members to focus on particular areas of municipal governance. So a few updates from last year. This past year has included several notable legislative acts of the council. Toward the end of 2019, the council went through the process of repealing and replacing the city's Unified Development Ordinance. This process, the council's portion of this process, spanned 3 months and included over 70 council amendments before a new UDO was adopted in December of 2019. That same month, December of 2019, the council also expanded the class of city employees paid a living wage, something that was noted earlier by Caroline Shaw, Director of HR. The council has also, through several different ways, supported affordable housing initiatives, including facilitation of economic development revenue bonds, approval of various development proposals, and most recently, through approval of Appropriation Ordinance 2003, which included this year's Recover Forward efforts that the administration brought forward. By the numbers, the council has adopted 14 ordinances and 10 resolutions through August of 2020, compared to 26 ordinances and 19 resolutions in 2019. Obviously, the way in which the council performs these legislative functions has been impacted by the ongoing public health emergency. In March, the council and its staff shifted most, if not all, of its work online. In the following months, staff has worked to ensure the council could continue to perform its legislative functions virtually, while still allowing for public access to the work of the council. In this regard, staff has collaborated with various city departments to make virtual meetings possible. This is in addition to the regular collaboration that takes place with various departments in the administration to prepare legislation for council action. 2 goals that the council office will continue to work on in the coming year include discussions with the clerk's office and the ITS department to research different document creation and management solutions to improve workflow and to make council meeting materials and other documents more accessible to the public. We'll also look at ways to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of both council and council standing committee meetings. So one of the major activities of the council is making decisions regarding certain discretionary funding that the city makes available for specific purposes. These efforts include the work of the council's Jack Hopkins Committee and Sidewalk Committee. Just a few stats. In 2020, the Jack Hopkins Committee so far has worked to distribute nearly $319,000 to 24 different social service agencies in our community. And the work of this committee is going to be extended this year as a new round of funding was just approved as part of the city's Recover Forward efforts that I mentioned. And the committee hopes to distribute this additional $200,000 that was recently approved out to social service agencies that meet the criteria of the Jack Hopkins Committee before the end of the year. The Council's Sidewalk Committee at the end of 2019 made recommendations for use of $324,000 from the city's Alternative Transportation Fund. And this funding was meant to help pay for the construction or design of new sidewalks or for the construction of certain traffic calming and pedestrian improvement projects. Finally, just a brief note that 4 council members serve on and staff help support the work of the Public Safety Local Income Tax Committee of the Monroe County Local Income Tax Council. And the work of this committee is largely performed over the summer months and involves collaboration with other elected officials and governmental units in the county, Ellettsville, and Steinsville. And more information about all 3 of these committees is publicly available on the council's website. And just a brief note about constituent services and community relations, which is one of the activities of the council office. As I've already mentioned, the ongoing public health emergency has meant that council staff has had to shift and adapt to remote work. And this has meant that a majority of our interactions with the public are now handled via email. Council staff has received and responded to, I would assume at this point, over 200 constituent messages that came into the council office through July 2020. And this does not account for the, I'm sure, numerous emails that council members receive directly and respond to individually. So moving into 2021 budget goals. I'm sorry, I wanted to add one more note here. We've also received in the recent months feedback from a number of community members with regard to the use of Zoom once council meetings resume in person, if that ever happens. As mentioned by a few other folks tonight, the council office has worked alongside, I'll mention the IT department, the clerk's office, the mayor's office, and representatives from CATS to research ways and work out ways to incorporate Zoom or remote meeting access into in-person council meetings once those meetings resume. We've heard from the public that this has opened up a new type of accessibility, and we're looking to bring that forward once in-person meetings resume. Now touching on 2021 goals, I'll mention a few of the more notable ones that we're working on. As I just mentioned, we'll continue to look at ways to improve public access, not only through the integration of Zoom into in-person meetings, but as I noted before, through the continued research into document creation and management solutions to help make council meeting materials more easily accessible to the public. One thing we've learned in moving almost all of our work entirely online is we could do better at organizing those materials and making them accessible to the public. Again, as I mentioned before, the council for the first time this year is utilizing a full slate of standing committees. And at the end of 2020, that'll be a full year of that committee structure. We'll look at the effectiveness of those standing committees through various metrics and report back to the council. So in the remaining months of 2020 and continuing into 2021, council members and staff will continue the work of the Jack Hopkins and Sidewalk committees, which I've noted earlier. This involves the additional round of Jack Hopkins funding recently approved. And more broadly, we're always looking for ways to improve both the application and review processes. And one change that came about this year that we may carry forward was the recording of a technical assistance meeting for the Jack Hopkins process that made it easier for agencies to view and receive that information on their own times. So that's one example of an efficiency we may look at carrying forward. And we're always looking at ways to streamline those committee processes while still ensuring that committee members have the information that they need to make informed decisions. Just a quick note about two of our other activities and goals moving forward. The council office always strives to provide timely responses to constituent contacts. And while I believe this has been a stated goal for a number of years, I'm not sure that consistent tracking has been in place. So moving forward, we'll look at establishing a system of both tracking and measuring our responses to public calls and emails. And finally, just a brief note that council staff includes typically 2 attorneys who strive to represent and perform work on behalf of the council. And in order to focus on this work, we will continue to look at ways of shifting administrative related duties to either administrative support staff or, again, as mentioned, in concert with the clerk's office, look at ways to automate certain administrative functions that staff currently performs. So to the actual budget numbers, I've just noted any major changes here within the 4 budget categories. And even as I say that, there is not a major change to category 1 beyond the citywide 2% pay raise that is being proposed. I will note that our deputy administrator / deputy attorney position is currently open, and we're in the process of filling that position. In category 2, while it's a large percentage increase, the dollar amount is actually $908, and the bulk of this is to acquire 3 additional copies of Adobe Pro, which has been requested by council members to better manage e-documents and packets. As mentioned, most of our work has moved online, and this will help support that work. In category 3, the major increase is due to budgeting for travel expenses that are charged by American Sign Language translators that we started to use toward the end of 2019, used at the beginning of 2020, and then put on hold once COVID hit and council meetings moved online. The budget is constructed in a way that should the council wish to begin that service again, we have now fully accounted for all of the charges that are associated with that service and should be able to provide it for all regular and special sessions next year. I will note this is a somewhat variable thing to try to budget for because it depends on the length of council meetings, and I don't have a crystal ball to know how long those go. Finally, in category 4, the increase that you see here is due to a proposed $6,000 increase to the sidewalk committee portion of the alternative transportation fund. So that would raise the total amount available to the council sidewalk committee to $330,000. This is the overall council office budget summary, and I'm happy to go back to this if any member wishes to ask questions. One last note, as mentioned by other departments, the administration has broken out any recover forward efforts, and this year in the council office budget, that includes a $200,000 additional amount for Jack Hopkins funding that you see listed here. This would be on top of the additional $200,000 that was recently approved by the council for 2020. So this would be for 2021. And with that, I will end my presentation and answer any questions you all may have.